storytelling aspect of true crime, but sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to listen to the details of those cases. And so I was thinking, why don't I try to bring the storytelling aspect in, but do some good news stories? So, some happy news, some feel good stories. So, I hope you guys like it. I do have my notes over to the side, and I'm noticing the glare in my glasses. I will try to find a different setup for today. This is what we're working with. So, I hope you guys enjoy. So, the first story that I'm going to tell you is about a little dog named Max. So 3 years ago, it was a warm summer evening. Max's family had just moved, and they were bringing in their boxes, and the door kept getting left open as people were going in and out. And little Max took advantage of that, and he slipped out the door. And at first, nobody panicked because Max really liked to go explore. So they thought, he'll go out, he'll explore for a little bit, he'll make his way back by nighttime. Well, hours and hours and hours passed, and the sun started to set, and people started to get a little worried, or I should say his family started to get a little worried. So the search began. For days the family searched. They had flyers printed. They called every shelter that was nearby, every vet, every neighbor. The neighbors even came and helped them look for him. Some brought treats to the family, and the neighborhood was really supportive, which I thought was very sweet because it is really sad when you lose an animal. So, someone even said that they saw a glimpse of Max by the woods. So the family searched the woods. Nothing, no Max. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And months turned into years. And they were never able to find Max. But the family kept his bowl on the shelf, and his collar had fallen off, so they kept his collar, hoping that someday Max would come back, and they never stopped having that hope. Fast forward to 3 years later, in a completely different state, an animal shelter picked up a stray dog that was wandering near the highway. He was dirty and really skinny and exhausted, but they said he had the sweetest eyes. So the shelter workers were like, okay, let's scan him and see if he has a chip. Got the scanner. Luckily, Max's family had indeed gotten him chipped, and their number popped up. But they realized this was not a local number. So this number was actually thousands of miles away. So the shelter calls the family. They look at their phone and see it's a weird area code. And they're like, this is probably one of those scams. But then one of the family members said, let's just answer it. I have this feeling we should answer it. So they did. And the staff member said, hi, we think we have your dog. And they just freaked out. The mom burst into tears, and the dad had to sit down, and the kids were just screaming because little Max, 3 years later, had been found. Well, the family wasted no time. sometimes miracles take a long time to happen, but eventually they do. Okay, let me move on to the next story. So this story is about a woman named Margaret. It is a really cool story. It is a story that teaches us that it's never too late to chase your dreams and rewrite your future. So, over a century ago, on a quiet farm, there was a little girl named Margaret, and Margaret had big dreams. She wanted to study literature and to write books someday, and to travel the world. But life had other plans for Margaret, and when she was 17, tragedy struck her family, and both of her parents passed away, leaving her in charge of her siblings. She was their caretaker. She was their, for lack of a better word, their parent. And her dreams of college just slipped away. She worked, she cooked, she cleaned, she supported, and the years just passed. But deep inside, she never forgot her dream. She would keep books tucked under her pillow, and she wrote poems on scraps of paper. She said that she watched all of her siblings graduate with pride, but a quiet ache inside of her, wishing that she could have done the same. Her life was full and it was beautiful, and she married and had children, but that dream never left her. So, when Margaret turned 99, one of her granddaughters asked her, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? And Margaret, without hesitation, whispered, I'd go to college just once, just to finish what I started. Her family stared at her, and then they smiled and said, let's make it happen. So, Margaret, at the age of 99, enrolled in a local university senior program. The students all adored Margaret. She sat in the front row with her notebook, her glasses low on her nose, and always raising her hand. Professors said she was the most thoughtful student that they had ever taught. She wrote essays with poetic grace. She attended study groups and told stories from decades past, and slowly she came alive again. I would have loved to be in a study group with Margaret. Can you imagine the stories that she had? And I was just thinking about how much the world has changed in her 99 years of life, and like the technology changes and just everything would be so cool to get her perspective on and talk to her about that. Anyway, the day came finally for Margaret. At 100 years old, wearing a cap and gown, Margaret walked across the stage. The auditorium erupted in applause. the school. Um, it says the entire district, so that's pretty amazing. I thought it was just the school, but looking at my notes, it was the entire district, which blows my mind. So the school decided to announce it to all the parents and children, and when they announced it, they said there was parents crying, and the kids were so excited that their lunch debt had been paid off, and everyone was just thanking this diner owner, and she said every child deserves to eat with dignity. So such an